we're back here in the LPL after the Lunar New Year, and here we're going to see Jingdong's Arena here in Beijing. So we look at our first matchup of the day, JDG versus BLG. Both teams looking to prove themselves to belong here in the upper echelons of the LPL. Both of them have had mildly successful splits so far, but we're going to have to see who's a little bit more successful after this. And as the Lunar New Year ends, the sun rises here on week 4 of the LPL. My name is Matt, and Iberia Clendaniel, joined by Clement Chu. Clement, how are you today?
I'm fine, and a warm welcome back to the LPL English broadcast. It's been a while, but we still got the entire rest of the season right here ahead of you.
And we're looking forward to going into a little bit more about today's matches. But first, this isn't technically the first day we've been back. We had a few matches on the Chinese broadcast, the first of which, Vici versus RNG, was a sight to behold.
It was the triumphant return of Uzi, and he showed up to prove all the naysayers that he's still there and looking at the championship. Also, what a closing Game 2 finish right there. Amazing J on Yorick closing out the game with the maiden by his side.
SDG versus Rogue Warriors, of course, the second series we saw yesterday, and it was interesting, to say the least. It was very action-packed. Xiaopeng pulled out the Nidalee a lot and got Sino Dragon yet another win. So 2-0 now, 5th in the standings.
Oh, this was very unexpected. All about the snipes yesterday coming out from Xiaopeng's Nidalee and Mark's Thresh, like we saw in the highlights right there. And no one really expected this. Remember, this is a full rookie team. Only 1 year max experience on all of these players, and they're right now sitting in the middle of the playoff standings. Very impressive.
And our first matchup today is going to be BLG versus JDG, 6th and 9th in the standings respectively. And after that, we're going to see IG try and make another triumphant return against LGD, who have still yet to pick up a win. But let's talk a little bit more about that first matchup, JDG versus BLG. Now, JDG, the big thing we have to talk about, and we're still talking about it because it's still awesome, they took down IG.
Oh, this is something that I never thought would happen, honestly. IG last split, they were 36-2 against in the regular split, only 2 losses against RNG, and right now IG are 40-1 against teams not called RNG in the regular split. That only loss was to JD Gaming. And in the past, we are always talking about IG, even when they were going up against RNG, they would still win all the lanes. But that was not the case against JD Gaming. Zoom shut them down hard and got a winning lane against the Lane Kingdom themselves.
And a lot of that was off the back of his Swain. This 2v1 here demonstrating absolute knowledge of the champion and a great outplay from the team as well.
This is turning out to be one of the best pocket picks in the meta so far for Zoom. You have a lot of impact in the lanes against tankier champions. They can't kill you as soon enough, and you can see in this clip, Yagao's already there on the rotation. Flawless is there. He just is able to sustain himself so well. And in the mid-game and late-game teamfights, you're an absolute monster. Kaisa, with her short range, has such a difficult time reaching your own backline, and you can just push the teamfight and shape the terrain however you want it to. A great pick for Zoom, and I want to see more people pick it up.
Zoom showing some absolute dominance on that pick and really bringing it home for his team, securing the team fight, securing the lanes. But he was against Duke, who's not exactly a slouch, 2 times world champion, but he's going to be tested once again going up against ADD in the top lane, who is currently our KDA leader among top laners.
Yeah, another Korean top laner, and honestly, we didn't expect this much from ADD. He came from a relegated team from the LCK, not a lot of high hopes, but he's really showing up as one of the best team fighting and teleporting top laners that we have. A lot of fond memories of his play on the Kled and the Poppy, always joining the team fights at the right time, as you can see from his kill participation. But on the other hand, he's facing Zoom, who's much more aggressive in the lane, plays picks like the Jace and the Swain, so it's about how much impact he can get in those team fights.
And BLG, one of their specialties is the team fighting. They're able to play so coordinated, so cleanly together, and spacing out the fight, giving Jinjiao here a ton of space to work with so that he can put down all the DPS.
So many pieces clicking for BLG right now. Jinjiao is having his best season in terms of a damage dealer. Kuro is meshing well. The Korean solo laners, they have no issues with communication. They're always playing towards the strong side of the map. They love the Lucian pick. They love to get that bot lane tower, and the entire entire team rotates around that strong point of Jinjiao and Mini in the bot lane, and they just keep on rolling with objectives.
Yeah, BLG is absolutely brilliant when it comes to the team fights, when it comes to the cross-map plays. A lot of teams struggle in the execution, not in the theory, but BLG, time after time, able to bring it back. We'll have to see if they're able to do that once again, or if Jingdong will have a little bit too much up their sleeves.
The big question for BLG is, I feel like they're a coaching staff's favorite type of team. They're very sound fundamentals. They're not flashy players, but they get to objectives faster. They control the objectives. We talk about their first tower rate, 100%. And they also have the fourth highest dragon rate and third highest baron rate. They set up very, very well, and they plan their team fights well. That's what BLG is great at. But they did take a 0-2 loss against OMG, where the enemy laners blew them out of the water. Icon and Ala in the top lane were able to dominate their respective lanes, and I feel like that's JD Gaming's win condition. They have the Dumpling Brother duo in Yagao and Zoom, who are tremendous solo lane players.
Yeah, and of course, not the only ones on the team. Zoom in the top lane, Flawless in jungle today. Yagao, mid lane, Imp, AD carry, and LvMao on the support.
It's good to see Imp back in the roster. Bavoy had a great series against IG, closed out the series for them, but now it's Imp's turn to shine. Didn't have a great start so far, but I hope he's warming up.
BLG, of course, ADD in the top lane. We already spoke about him. Metoer in the jungle, Kuro mid lane, Jinjiao, and Kine. Well, for the first time, rounding out the bottom lane.
Yeah, we don't really know much about Kine. It has been Mini who's played most of the supporting role on stuff like the Leona and the Braum. So we might see a bit of a change in terms of the bot lane. What I'm wondering is if they're still going to stick to that lane dominant style of the Lucian with the Braum.
It's going to be a bit of a juggling match here for the junglers because you have to pay attention to all of your lanes. Of course, both solo lane sets are incredibly strong, incredibly coordinated, and it's up to the junglers to decide, okay, where do we want to put this time? Do we want to put this into getting our laners ahead, or do we want to just negate the enemy jungler and hope that our lanes and trust that they can dominate?
Well, Metoer is definitely going for the second route that you mentioned right there. Much more of a control style of jungle. We've been talking about the BLG game plan. I'll just paint it out for you guys, make it crystal clear. What they do is they play around a very, very strong bot lane, and then they invade into the topside jungle with Metoer. He has one of the lowest jungle proximities, but one of the highest GDs. He's always looking to play an ISO game in the topside, make sure that the enemy, make sure to keep tabs on the enemy jungler, protect the bot lane from pushing, and also link up their two Korean solo laners so they can play together around the map. So that's kind of the style that they're going for, and it's going to be up to Metoer to go into the enemy jungle and keep tabs on Flawless. Now that being said, is kind of where Metoer does have his bad games. If he goes into the enemy jungle and he's not supported well, then he does get punished very, very hard. And we do see a couple of up and down games from this playstyle. That's going to be where Flawless could potentially break this game and bring JD Gaming the Swift 2-0.
It's sort of a curse for Metoer here because he has these very safe, very strong solo laners, but as a result, they don't always go for the proactive plays. You know,
no, they don't.
Both the solo laners, top KDAs in their lanes, and Kuro is the top KDA in the league at 12.2. So he's an absolute monster when he's convinced to fight, and Metoer is very good at forcing them to fight, but sometimes that's because he gets caught out. So he needs to temper his aggression a little bit. It's very good to enable his solo laners to get them moving, but it's something that Flawless will be able to abuse, like you said.
Yeah, Flawless, we call him the hunter-killer. He's the type of jungler that likes to play that ISO game against you. The Kha'Zix, the Lee Sin, those are the picks that he's looking at. And Metoer, he's much more of a sort of control type of jungler. He does very well in the team fights, but for the early game, he's not really that much about kills. So that's a little point of worry that I do have for them. In general, I feel like this game will be decided in the top part of the map. Even though that Jinjiao has been doing really good things in lane, when you're talking about these two teams, most of the stars are in the solo lanes. Yagao versus Kuro and Zoom versus ADD are the big names that we have to pay attention to.
It'll be interesting to see, too, the bottom lane there, because Kine, this is the first time we're going to see him. I want to see if he tries to enable more of the jungler roams and tries to set up more for those ganks, or if he just wants to secure the lane for his side and then let his jungler go elsewhere.
Yeah, that's always a question that we have for these new players coming in, and to do so after Lunar Chinese New Year, it's quite interesting to me. Some teams that want to get in the playoff bracket, they actually don't take breaks. So this could be a duo that they've been hiding for the past couple of weeks, and honestly, if they wanted to, they would have 2 weeks of practice underneath their belts to come up with some new strategies. But I will mention the old BLG strategy, and that's always go on the blue side, always pick up the Lucian if it's possible, and try to win the bot lane through dominant picks. That has been the recipe for their success so far. I want to see if this new support changes that, or maybe even elevates it.
The bot lane is not necessarily going to be the focus, but it will be a point of interest, of course. And I'm interested in seeing what the teams have done over Chinese New Year, because as you mentioned, a lot of them still practice, a lot of them still swap up the strategies. Of course, yesterday we saw RNG running Uzi again after the Chinese New Year, so he's had some practice with the team. I want to see if these teams sort of took a break to mentally reset. You know, Jingdong coming off that win versus IG, it's a cause for celebration. It's a cause for maybe a little bit of relaxation. Or if they just said, okay, we found success, we need to double down on it and make sure what we did to get that success in the first place keeps going forward into week 4, 5, 6, all the way into playoffs.
There's no way that JD Gaming is resting right now. You know, they were projected to go to Worlds last split after the defeat of EDG. Everyone was rooting for them as kind of this new up-and-coming team. They had great stars on the team. They didn't go to Worlds. And in this split, their performance so far has not been rock solid. And you also have this new contender in FPX who's suddenly rising up the ranks with Doinby at the helm. So for JD Gaming, I actually see their position as quite perilous in the league. They have to cement themselves as one of the top 3 among giants right now. You have TOP in the mix, you have FPX in the mix, IG and RNG are still there. So it's such a crowded spot for them to really rise up. And to be honest, it does feel like maybe 2018 was their best chance. Can they get the best use out of 2019 is the question we all have.
Well, taking down IG is a good first step.
It is.
I think you touched on a point that's really cool for me to see. Is this split, we have a lot of really close matchups. A lot of the teams are really close in power rankings because we don't have a clear like 2 through 7, I'll say.
Yeah.
Number 1, we suspect IG is going to fix their mistakes, come back on top because, of course, last year they were so dominant. Like we said, 40-1 in series, you know, since that last year, not including RNG. So RNG in contention for first or second potentially. But everything down from first or second place is really anyone's game. You know, Sino Dragon is sitting up there right now. We don't suspect they're going to stay there, but they've had a lot more legs than anyone really gave them credit for.
It's absolutely crazy, but the top 3 teams in terms of current performance are FPX, Suning, and TOP, and none of those teams went to Worlds. That's how deep the LPL is right now.
So we're going to hope to see one of these teams join them on their way here today through this series. The ban's coming out hard and fast already. Jingdong going for Camille, Lissandra, and Ezreal, and Bilibili wants to respond with Cassiopeia and Lucian taking away those early power picks.
Yeah, so I think Ezreal is more of a response to the Lucian being taken away, and if you're playing against Metoer, you have to take away Camille. It's his best champion by far, 4 games on the champ so far. It allows him to link up with his solo lanes very well, and BLG are pushed into an interesting position. The favorite pick they have, Urgot, is still obviously up. ADD is probably going to snag that. But they're not going to have the strong bot lane that they're looking for. They're going to have to find something that can actually punish and keep their first tower style up.
And that's why it's interesting for me to see JDG going for the Kai'Sa first. I kind of like this because we've seen that Zoom particularly has a really deep champion pool. He's played 8 champions so far, #1 in the league for champion diversity, tied with a few players to be fair, but that means JDG have a lot of flexibility with their drafts, whereas ADD, for example, has only played 3 champions.
Yeah, ADD does have quite a limited pool. Urgot is the big one we're talking about, but Raz was telling me yesterday that it's not as easy to survive in this current meta. You do have a lot of Urgots running around, and that is considered quite a hard counter to the Urgot in the top lane, so BLG might have that in mind. They watched yesterday's RNG game versus Vici Gaming. They're going to go for safer options. Aatrox, definitely one of them, and if you look at the Korean solo lanes right now, that's a flex pick. That's the old Afrika that we know.
Well, it's interesting to me to see that Aatrox is still picked up. Of course, this is patch 9.2, so there were some little light nerfs, just a tiny smack on the wrist there for Aatrox, nerfing the cooldown and the ratios on his Q, and it looks like JDG just want to go with that strong Urgot pick.
Yeah, Urgot is a flex pick for JD Gaming as well, and it has a decent matchup against both of these champions. I would say that it's more of a skill matchup, and Urgot tends to win out early, so they can leverage that with a strong jungler to really shut down the way BLG plays with Meteor and the jungle invades, whatnot. But JD Gaming are going to show their hand with this Galio if they do lock it in. However, we have to remember Galio with the recent nerfs, it's no longer a straight-up mid-lane pick. We did see Ming take Galio into the support role yesterday, so a potential flex pick there as well.
This draft is turning out to be pretty surprising for me. I mean, the Sivir priority there from BLG. Is that just for the push, I suppose?
It could be for the push, but this is something that Jinjiao likes a lot. I feel like BLG are going to keep their bot lane strategy together, where they have a very clear-cut, strong side that they can push the waves in and just kind of flex their solo lanes. Now, the flexing is what really is interesting for me, because if you look at their previous champion pools, ADD and Kuro did not share a champion. That was not part of the repertoire. But right now, with both of these champions, basically the strongest champions that you can pick for solo laners, now that Aurelia and Galio have basically been nerfed, it's a very strong combination. It's very versatile, and I feel like with this type of a comp, you can play a very scrappy type of style. You can select strong engaged jungles and or strong single target CC junglers and just continue to keep the fight going. So we might be seeing something a bit different from BLG. We were talking about them having quite slow and defensive solo laners, but I don't think that's going to be the case this time around.
Definitely not looking like it, and it's interesting to see them banning out the Sylas as well.
Yep. Sylas is an interesting champion. Most of the time we actually see it as just a straight up blind pick because of the flex potential. And the Sylas to me is saying that, hey, this Galio could go to support. So they're very well aware of that fact. They're still taking it out. Sylas overall, I think, is a overpowered champion in the current patch. His numbers are very, very high up there. And for JD Gaming, we were talking about the scrappy potential for BLG, so they're looking to take that away. Taking away the single target CC, making sure that this comp can't just roll around and skirmish everyone that they want.
The Olaf being picked up there for BLG, but I'm more interested in this hover, and I really hope it's locked in because we haven't seen Shyvana in a long time.
Ooh, Shiv is an interesting pick here, but I don't think it's really going to happen. No sustain in the jungle, of course, a big downside to Shyvana, and the game pace is just so fast these days. This looks much more like what we expect out of Yagao. Yagao has a tremendous LeBlanc, and we've seen the LeBlanc versus Akali matchup. It is considered quite a hard counter. There's not much that the Akali can do. Now, do remember this is a 9.2 patch. She still does have sustain on her, so she can survive the laning phase. But even then, it's considered quite a difficult matchup.
And now JDG rounding out the draft with a little bit more standard pickups here. Jarvan, of course, having been buffed in the jungle, going to round out that composition, give them a lot of engage and combo with the Galio.
And that's such a hard combo against someone like the Sivir. She has no escapes. If she doesn't have flash, you use a Cataclysm on her. It's very easy follow-up to clean up the back line. And I do like that strategy. For BLG, their main damage dealer has been Jinjiao throughout this the past couple of weeks so far. So they do have a very clear-cut way to shut that damage coming down. And for BLG, this really is a shift of tone. The main damage is going to have to come from the solo lanes. We're going to have to see Kuro and ADD really level up. They didn't have the best showing against OMG's solo laners. They're more protective and more of a defensive solo lane type of style. But this time around, they're going to have to be thrown in the fire. They're up against LeBlanc coming out from Yagao. They're up against Urgot coming in from Zoom. They have to fight this.
At the very least, they still have Meteor on a comfortable style champion. Olaf able to still go for those scraps, those early invades. But, you know, JD coming out with a fairly interesting composition. The Galio as the support, of course, does combo well with the Jarvan. But I'm worried a little bit about the laning phase because you have Kai'Sa, who's not all that strong in the early game, and now Galio, who has such high mana costs on the Q now. I don't know how this is going to turn out.
If you're talking about one sore spot for JD Gaming, it has to be their bot lane. Remember, they did lose Loken to TOP, so their bot lane currently is Bavoy and Imp. Neither of these, I would say, would be top-tier AD carries, so typically we do see the bot side being more defensive for JD Gaming, and I think you're right. That is a point of worry. BLG, for them, they've had a very clear-cut strategy. They always want to shove that part of the map in. and they want to invade with that pressure there. So can they actually keep their bot lane tower up long enough? Can they actually dissuade Metoer from just waltzing into their own jungle? That's going to be a big question with the Kai'Sa versus Sivir matchup.
I expect a lot of presence from Metoer top lane, especially because now you've guaranteed that you have that safe bottom lane, like you said, a lot of pushing potential, and Tahm Kench can get you out of pretty much any gank, especially post 6. So now that JDG knows that there might be a little bit of pressure top, especially with this Aatrox, I'm interested to see what Flawless decides to do as a response.
Definitely is the case here. I feel like just in the solo terms, the Olaf should have a sizable advantage over the Jarvan early on, and he could use that to tip especially the Aatrox versus Urgot matchup. Much more of a skill matchup in the top side.
We'll have to see how those matches turn out as we get here into game number 1 between JD Gaming and Bilibili.
Oh, some cheese coming right out the gate. Welcome to the ear of the pig. Nothing happens, though.
Nothing too crazy yet. little bit of aggressive positioning there from BLG, but they're just going to run past. Be happy with what little they got. Be happy with their cheekiness.
We are playing in the JD Gaming Stadium in Beijing. So that was their manager right there. Pretty sure you're all familiar with him by now.
I always love hearing the cheers and seeing who's doing them and seeing the passion on their faces. You know, it's such a great environment here in the LPL. We have so many teams with great fans. Even the newer teams are coming up and they have, you know, like Sino Dragon. They still haven't figured out how to do the cheers, but they're trying, Clement, and I love it.
They'll get it someday. They'll get it someday. BLG, like always, starting without a leash, so they can just get the early push into the bot side. We do see Olaf with the solo blue. This is something that basically only Olaf does very well. Jungle's better with low health. And it looks like an early gank coming out from Jarvan, actually.
He's heading up towards the top side, looking at that Scuttle Crab. You know, Jarvan, relative to Olaf, has a kind of slow clear speed, but it looks like since they're on opposite sides of the map, it might not be a problem.
I really do like this idea, and we also have to point out that Olaf was spotted on the bot side by a JD Gaming ward, so they're at least going to keep Urgot safe in the top side. Urgot, with his passive, does push uncontrollably in the top lane, so he's a prime target for Olaf to gank. I do like that they're trying to protect Zoom earlier on.
Oh, Flawless going really aggressive here.
Huh. This is probably not a fight that he wants to take. That's a level 3 versus level 2. Okay, he's not going to queue over. If he queued over, that could be big trouble.
Yeah, I'm not sure if, I guess maybe he thought the pathing was different there from Metoer, but it looked like he kind of just has been wasting a little bit of time, and now going towards the Raptors, Flawless is just getting outpathed.
I think he's just trying to keep tabs on the Olaf. He knew that there wasn't a leash for Metoer, so he expected that Metoer was going to be quite low on HP, and that's why you would invade like that. But on Meteor's side, he's actually doing okay on the HP and the sustained route because he did take the Rift Scuttle level 2. So he took a route that was much safer to what Flawless was going to do. However, Flawless might still sneak away with this red buff right here.
Yep, he is able to take it. I really like that utilization of Zoom's pressure in the top lane because he's been shoving this whole time. So it's nice to see something come out of it, especially against an Olaf.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised he was able to sneak that red buff away. If you're talking about dueling power, Metoer would have made mincemeat out of the Damashian Prince right there. So it was very ballsy play from the Jarvan, and most of it, I believe, was aided by the fact that he knew LeBlanc was going to arrive faster. LeBlanc is considered a counterpick earlier on, already with a sizable CS advantage, so he was willing to push that advantage quite far, and he did get rewarded for it.
I'm impressed by JDG's early game so far. You know, I was really not sure about that pathing from Flawless, but he proved me absolutely wrong.
Oh, I think it was really smart from Metoer. That's the early scuttle take from Metoer just to keep his HP alive, making sure that he understood the mentality of Flawless very well. Flawless is a killer hunter. He likes to 1v1 solo the enemy jungle, and you don't want to be low health when that happens.
Uh-oh, Metoer thinking he has the inner path, popping the Predator, able to get a ton of damage onto Flawless, but not going to matter a whole lot.
I really like this Olaf pick so far. we were talking about the Meteor. Typically when he has a bad game, it's because he goes into the enemy jungle, his solo laners aren't there with him, and he just dies to the enemy jungler. But that's not the case when you have the Olaf. There basically isn't a 1v1 scenario pre-6 where the Olaf loses.
Question will be if he's able to get a whole lot off of it, because really so far what he's established is a little bit of vision and staying alive against Flawless.
Kuro could be in trouble.
Kuro, Chain has to flash away, and now Flawless just getting a little bit of red buff, slows the QE combo, but now the teleport coming in from the top lane. ADD looking for the knock up here onto Flawless, gets one, flash is forced.
Overall, I would say a win for JD Gaming. They did blow 2 flashes off the enemy team and a teleport from the top side as well, just for 1 flash. So a much better game plan so far. It was a really good chain from Yagao to start that combo off. Even though Flawless was spotted by a ward, it didn't matter. Kuro had to burn his flash just to get out of that situation.
And now look at this absolutely insane CS lead in the mid lane. This entire wave is going to crash into tower before Kuro can get there. 15 CS, granted off that 1 play.
Yeah, that's a yikes situation for you right there. Like we were saying, this is kind of expected out of the matchup. I don't think Kuro's too worried. And talking about the Akali on 9.2, it's such a high priority pick right now. Aurelia's gone from basically the mid lane. Galio's not really there in terms of the pick and ban rates. So Akali has risen up super high in the meta. I feel like I really like the patch read from BLG right here. They're taking the 2 strongest solo lanes and they're making their Korean duo, their current solo lane duo, practice these champions and run the Afrika strategy of going of swapping side lanes around.
And I want to see how the game changes at 6, because I think BLG, yes, they're playing well now and their strategy will work, but once JDG hits 6 across the board, they have a lot of play potential, especially around that bottom lane, because I want to see how this Galio support works out. Is it going to be Imp engages with the Killer Instinct and then Hero's Entrance comes on? Will they wait for Flawless to come in? They have a lot of potential here to make plays around that level 6 mark.
The bot lane is definitely where I would be looking for just the combination of the Cataclysm going on to a target like Sivir. It's just so easy to make plays happen. And to mention, Jinjiao's actually bringing press the attack on an 80 on Sivir. Typically we do see FLICKR work just for the extra speed. But this time around, very confident in the matchup, wants to push his damage profile just a little bit higher. I want to see if this does actually pay off for him. When the gank comes in, it's going to be a bit harder to get away from the Jarvan.
And now Flawless has hit that level 6 mark. Imp not there yet, neither is LvMao. But they're working their ways up there. Now Flawless looking towards the bottom side, gonna be caught by this control ward, but might still go in a little bit aggressive onto the blue.
Yeah, this is not a blue buff I feel like BLG can take right now. LeBlanc is just way too far ahead of the matchup. There's no sustain incoming from Kuro, so it's very difficult for him actually to stay full health. I would be very hesitant to take this fight if I was BLG. I feel like they have a lot more potential to lose things here.
Oh, blue buff gets leashed. It was so close. It was played on a knife's edge by JDG, and it was looking like they were going to get the advantage, but now that it's reset, they don't have the positioning on it anymore.
Flawless is going to come in again, see if he can get a pickup. Loses no HP, but he can't actually see the blue buff. So BLG actually do a very successful defense of that scenario. They did lose a bunch of CS on the bot side, though. That probably is the one downside of what's happening so far. And the laning situation for Kuro is absolutely atrocious. If you look at where the minion wave is, I do not envy Kuro's position in that lane.
And you were saying how it's a hard counter matchup, and it's getting worse by the minute, because not only is Yagao denying CS, but by keeping the pressure there for both of them, those item spikes for Kuro are going to come later. He's not going to be able to put up the damage in the team fights, whereas Yagao, I mean, he's LeBlanc, man. He's got crazy burst earlier.
Just look at Kuro's CS. He was 49 when this wave crashed. He only got 1 CS off that entire wave. That's how hard that Yagao is zoning him right now. And this is what Kuro has to do. He has to call for his jungler to help unfreeze the wave and make sure that he can continue farming, because with that play over to the blue buff and back to the lane, JD Gaming has just acquired a massive CS advantage. That's 23 CS in the mid lane already, and you know, even with Morello Nomicon being nerfed a little bit in this patch, LeBlanc still does a ton of damage.
A little bit of the safety of the bot lane for BLG on display there. Yagao picking up the blue buff, and this top lane hasn't really had a whole lot of action yet. A lot of the focus has been down on the bottom side of the map, and especially around mid lane. But it seems like both top laners kind of just okay with that.
Just farming it out. Zoom did get the early push because of the flawless cover. I really like what Flawless did right there. Made sure that Urgot could continue to push freely in that lane, not get punished by the Aatrox. But as the sustain starts to pile on for Aatrox, the more damage he gets, the lane does shift a little bit more into ADD's favor, and that's what we're seeing right here.
As long as he's able to hold on while his team works around the map, I feel like that's fine for Zoom. Because they have this strong bot lane, they have this mid lane that's winning so hard. If he's not just getting completely out-shoved and killed, that kind of feels like a good look.
I think both teams can be quite satisfied with their position so far. Even though Kuro has been down in CS, it hasn't really resulted in anything. And I think a lot of it has to come from Meteor's strong jungler. Can Zoom get something here?
Oh, good knock-up, and there, Fear Beyond Death, a quick solo kill there, but there's the ultimate. We'll keep him alive for now, but Zoom has so much damage. Flash away from ADD, keeps him alive.
Oh, and that was quite merciful by Zoom. He wasn't trying to finish that kill up. BLG trying to get something on the backside, but this is just a straight-up 4v4. I don't think they can take it.
Flawless just sitting there in the pit, and JDG doing a great job zoning out. Heal blown by Imp to keep him safe. Smite battle, and Meteor gets it, but now the ultimate forcing the flash from Meteor.
Is there going to be a
Boom
triple?
Out the flash with the taunt onto 2. Now Killer Instinct going in. Imp looking for Jinjiao, able to find him. First blood. Meteor goes down as well, and it's 2 TPs coming in from both of the top laners. ADD going to be the next one to fall, and JDG the double kill for their AD carry, and an easy 3-0 fight.
Ooh, disaster strikes for BLG right there. If you look at their composition on the bot side, there really isn't any crowd control. Much easier target selection for JD Gaming right there. They snipe out Jinjiao at the start of the fight. No damage coming in. Kuro was behind to start, and they get 2 kills and assist onto Kaisa. The late game scaling AD carry compared to the Sivir. And that's just, even though they got the Drake from BLG, that's just not worth it. I have to question that call.
And once again, Yagao still getting CS advantage. This fight was absolutely great for JDG.
Yeah, you see they don't have the crowd control to really focus down a target. They want to escape, but LvMao with the triple man taunt to start this off, effectively a triple man taunt to start it off, and they clean out the back lane as soon as the fight begins. There's no damage incoming. ADD, we talked about him being a great teleporter. His kill percentage is so high. He always wants to join the 5v5. That was not a fight that you wanted to be in.
Definitely a little bit of mispositioning there from him, but once you hit that button, there's no taking it back, Clement. So unfortunately, he died for that, but now Zoom,
World Ender still isn't up.
They're looking for revenge. Flawless, not going to go for the EQ just yet, just autoing with the red buff. Misses the combo, but it doesn't matter. ADD, goodbye. Fear Beyond Death, 1-0-1 for Zoom.
Yeah, and this is probably the worst scenario for ADD, probably the most difficult game that he's had to play so far in the LPL. Not going off to a good start. I felt like that was incredibly over-aggressive. He did not have any summoners or his ultimate. Still decided to fight Zoom in the river. I think he regrets that call.
JDG now going to get a little bit of positioning onto the Rift Herald if they decide to take it. I think Flawless is currently attacking it, but we'll have to see. They're 4-0, 13 minutes in, about a 2K gold lead. So a great start for them, especially because they have that late game scaling bot lane.
Yep, and BLG, like we were saying, even though they drafted themselves very aggressive, skirmish-oriented solo laners, they really haven't gotten them in action. And we can see that this strategy so far hasn't really fit their style. I want to see what they can do late game to compensate for it. Maybe they can bring out a 1-3-1 strategy. Neither Urgot or the LeBlanc are great in that department, so that could be a winning a win condition for them later on. But for now, the entire map does belong to JD Gaming. They do have the Rift Herald as well.
Now, Flawless coming out of base with that Rift Herald in hand. His red buff is still up, so I suspect after that, he's going to be looking around the map. And honestly, I don't know where he should place it best because they have a ton of pressure around mid, but look at this bot lane fight already. There's the taunt onto Kine, and Sivir's caught in there as well, but they're going to turn immediately onto Imp. The ultimate, not enough to save him, and now LvMao is going to have to chase down onto Jinjiao, not able to get it, and a quick turn by BLG.
That was such an insane bait by Jinjiao right there. That was very questionable positioning to start off the fight. He walked forward without auto-attacking, got hit by a bunch of skills, and now Flawless is trying to come up and clean up the situation. He does have the Cataclysm.
Oh, but that's not going to be enough for a 1v4. If Kuro decides to join, he'll clear the wave, keep himself and his tower safe for now. Turret plating, of course, has already fallen.
That was pretty insane. I did not think that was gonna work. It was one of the most straightforward baits that we've seen in such a very long time. Jinjiao walking behind the enemy minion wave, taking damage, getting free auto attacks off, and just saying, "Hit me, please." Let's just watch that. Look at that positioning. No one positions like that ever, and he just makes it work somehow. He calculates the damage perfectly, dodges out on the Winds of War coming in from LvMao, and keeps himself alive. Even goes for more tower pushing.
And it was really good forethought from Kine there as well, to take him down into that position, because you were stuck then in a triangle between an Olaf, a Tahm, Kench, and a Sivir. You're not getting out of that.
That was crazy. I honestly did not expect that to work. That was just better knowledge of the damage that each dual lane was going to output in that specific fight, and Jinjiao won that hands down.
And it's super problematic now for JDG, because we were praising them about how well this Kai'Sa was doing, how well generally across the map they've been doing, but now with that play, suddenly they've lost a lot of tempo in the lane, and if you look mid lane, that CS differential between Kuro and Yagao has all but evaporated.
Yeah, it's not really there anymore. With the sustain coming out from the Akali, you get a lot better in that matchup. I believe this is a replay. Oh yes, it is a replay of the Heralds, but unfortunately Herald was not able to take down the tower. He does hit the tower though, doesn't miss there.
Now Yagao just going to pick up that blue buff once again, trying to keep the pressure up in the middle lane. Of course, one item complete so far. Luden's Echo, Sork Boots. Going to be putting out a decent amount of damage.
And JD Gaming, even though I felt like they had a very good potential to take the top lane tower and get that first brick gold, it does look like the situation has shifted so far. BLG are looking at that bot side and looking to keep their 100% first tower rate alive.
Going to pick up the second dragon in a row as well, the Cloud Drake. Give him a little bit of speed boost. And they've got the full wave down onto the bottom lane, but BLG starting to play it really well, but oh, no, the 100%!
They're going to take it down. No way JD Gaming live with it.
That's a shame.
I do like the idea for the Galio support as just a wave clear option. Winds of War, the AP scaling ratio has been greatly nerfed, so you're not going to one-shot combo 80 carries anymore. It's much better early game when the ratios aren't really involved in the situation. And we've seen teams pair the Kai'Sa with the Galio and just try to keep the lane pushed out, delay that tower from going down. It's been a successful pick so far for JD Gaming.
I feel like it's also sort of a decent analog for Rakan now that the reliability of his combo's been nerfed, because, yeah, Galio's combo isn't exactly as reliable either, but you have that W flash for the easy engage if you're able to get in range. So you get the combination of helping with the wave clear and a little bit of all but guaranteed engage.
Ooh, great point right there on the Rakan.
ADG, goodbye. World Ender pulls him into the enemy team, so JDG going to be picking this one up real quick.
Oh man, ADD is just having the roughest time of his life so far. Welcome to China, man. Caught out of a bad position. Yagao having a great game so far. Really has not been touched in terms of the laning phase or any of the skirmishes, and it looks like JD Gaming are looking on the hunt for another tower.
Tower getting dangerously low, but a lot of wave clear coming out from BLG. He'll use to keep the tower alive and themselves. Flag and Drag flashed away from Kine, and they looking to back off after this.
I like how patient Flawless is with his Cataclysm. He's not overextending, staying within the boundaries of his team, making sure he just gets the objective and backs off. That was a very tempting scenario. I would have gone in right there, not gonna lie. But Flawless keeps on to his cool.
Yeah, and because of that, now JDG, 2 towers in a row that they've been able to take up, opened up the top side of the map quite a bit. Baron spawning in a minute. Next Drake not as quick, but now they have a little bit of time to pressure that last outer.
Exactly like you're saying, I feel like this is a game where JD Gaming want to close it out fast. They have the tremendous burst potential from Yagao right now, and if they just are able to push all of the waves simultaneously and set up shop inside BLG's jungle, there's almost no way BLG can come back from this game. There's just way too much upfront burst damage and engage potential coming out from the cannonball combination of Jarvan and Galio, and also the Righteous Glory from Zoom completed as well. So I feel like this is just a game where once JD Gaming can get most of their waves in control in the positions that they want to, they can just park themselves into the jungle of BLG and choke the game out from there.
Yeah, they've made it out of the toughest spot of the game, which was that bottom lane early game. Because that's where things could fall apart. If Imp doesn't get ahead enough, if LvMao doesn't work out with the Galio, suddenly we're like, oh, all right, well, they don't really have a bottom lane, but they've been able to get that through. They've been able to get a lot of map control, and now they're able to put Yagao into the side lane. Yeah,
and this is the thing I was talking about. They just need all of the side waves pushed in. They want to choke out BLG as much as possible, and the matchup to do that with would be Zoom versus ADD. Like, the Aatrox is not fed whatsoever. He cannot hold on to that wave. So we just see Imp being moved from the bot side toward the middle. It signals that they want to start taking control of the map.
I don't know if I like this from JDG. Because that's a lot of BLG members.
It's very much overextended.
Flawless is really forward. He's tanky. It will save his life. But now Jinjiao picking up the red buff and Flawless forced to back.
Yeah, probably not worth it for a red buff right there. ADD down 2 levels, but still very courageous in that exchange.
Zoom just going to calmly clear these waves, getting the control over the sides, as you said. Blue buff going to be up in a bit, and Imp will be picking up the red buff. But they might be ramping up for a fight here.
I like this build coming out from Flawless. This is a very unflawless-like build. It's not the Black Cleaver like I would expect from him. It's the build where you just go in, you lock all of the targets up, there's no tanks on this roster whatsoever, and you just blow them up with all the damage you possibly can get. So I really like the idea. Flawless is going to be a major engager in this coming fight, and I don't see a way that BLG can really deny him.
It's fairly low econ as well, which is really nice, especially now that he's building a little bit more health. Might even turn into a Warmog, so suddenly he's got 8 billion health and free resists and taking 50% less damage. You can't threaten him.
Yeah, it's going to be such an easy teamfight purchase for JD Gaming in the future. I think BLG, they need to think about how they avoid being grouped up together, because this is a death sentence if the combo does go down from JD Gaming.
I mean, just look at JD's items. You know, 2 items on Imp's Kaisa, 2 items, like we pointed out, on Flawless, 2 on Zoom completed, and Luden's and the Oblivion Orb for the extra pen with the Sork Boots on Yagao. That's a ton of damage. That's a ton of tankiness. There goes the ultimate from Jinjiao. Gonna keep himself safe for now. The Devour saving him up. Going golden for Kine. Teleport coming in, but Kine, Fear Beyond Death, gonna grab him. Teleport comes in from ADD, and now LvMao being threatened. Gets the taunt. Not gonna be able to save himself, but Flawless staying alive. He gets so many in the ultimate. Kuro makes it out and gets a kill on the backside. 2 for 3 at the moment. ADD, the double kill for Yagao.
And that was a beautiful combo coming out from JD Gaming. I'm actually really surprised that BLG was able to snipe out the members of Flawless and LvMao at the same time before more damage was done. And we can see the thought process behind this. You keep everyone in the Cataclysm, you double W with Yagao, and you just blow everyone up on the other side. And it very nearly succeeded right there. If there was just a little bit more damage, that was 4 bodies on BLG's side, but they do get themselves out of that situation. I'm actually very, very surprised about that outcome.
The first taunt there from LvMao missed, which I thought was going to shut down the engage, but then they get onto Kine, and now they get ready for that big combo you were talking about.
Yeah, I feel like Zoom should have walked forward and just tried to preserve the fear for ADD coming down. That was a guaranteed fear, but here's the combo we're talking about. 4 people caught in the Cataclysm, and a double stomp coming in from Yagao to basically blow up the entire backline. Fortunately for BLG, they're still able to get kills back and negate most of the gains by that situation.
Off that, though, Yagao completed his Morellonomicon, getting a ton of extra damage, reducing the healing coming out from BLG. That'll stop Kuro, that'll stop Metoer, it'll stop ADD, it'll stop Jinjiao. That's a big pickup for him.
Definitely is, and Cloud Drake is a welcome sight for JD Gaming as well. Will allow them to catch up to a potential 1-3-1 combination.
Yagao going for the one, but against 3 members here on the top side of BLG, but they just back off.
Can't really force it here. The rotations are coming in fast and hard from JD.
Gonna get a little bit of vision down onto Baron, looking towards this red pit once again.
Just straight up starting the Baron
They're in
full vision. Huh.
I don't think they care. They're just going to put Flawless and LvMao on interruption duty. Going to get the knockups. But now they're going in. Imp with the killer instinct. They wanted to take down Kine and keep pressure off, prevent a response. But now, suddenly they're down an ultimate.
Yeah, that was a little bit premature from JD Gaming. They thought that they could just consistently keep everyone there. But Flawless, here he comes again.
Cataclysm right onto Kine. They're like, this time you're not getting away. Get back here. Fear Beyond Death going to secure it now, guaranteeing a 5 versus 4 in favor of JDG if they opt for the team fight.
I love this playstyle for JD Gaming. It's kind of like a fighting game where you lock someone down in a corner and you just punch them whenever they come out. That's the mentality that JD Gaming have right now. They're just playing this so in your face, just straight up there doing the Baron. They didn't even use a sweeper on that Baron. They just said, hey, we're going to go in and we're going to start it. But BLG could come back with this fight. Kuro is getting so much damage off.
Redemption into the Baron pit saves a lot of health for JDG. Now they get the knock up, and that is one dead Aatrox. LvMao very low, but not dead yet.
Here
Kuro
comes
goes
Kuro
in with the ultimate. That was a ton of damage onto Imp, but he's still alive. So is LvMao. So is Flawless. He goes in. He's able to get 1, 2, fall down. Jinjiao still alive, but he will fall. And Metoer, the last one alive in the team fight for his team. JDG, Zoom, can you get it? Can you finish it up? Here comes Tahm Kench to prevent the death of his jungler.
That was really close from both sides. JD Gaming tried to push it as far as they possibly could in that 5v4, and I thought Kuro was going to turn the situation, but unfortunately Zoom was just too far ahead. If you watch the right side of the fight, that was Zoom going 1v3 against the backline and saying, you know what, Urgot, even with the nerfs, doesn't matter. I'm going to blow through your entire backline.
Well, that was thanks to the lane where he just got left alone, but Kuro goes real deep.
Kuro, yeah, he was almost the hero in this situation, taking down Yagao to below half health. ADD, he was looking for some way to get into the fight, but he does go down a little bit too soon. No World Enders popped right there either, so bit of a mistake right there, but this was getting super tense. Kuro looked like he was about to finish the entire thing by himself, but the 1v3 on both sides comes out ahead for Zoom. Zoom wins the 1v3 on the right, while Kuro does fall down on the left side, unable to clean up Yagao with that 5-point strike right there. And the team fight and the Baron does go to JD Gaming. Oh, I'm sorry, the Baron's still alive. The Baron's still alive.
I was gonna say that's I missed something in that fight apparently.
I was going too far ahead of myself right there.
It's a shame too, because if Kuro had like 5 more AP, that would have been a 1 fight for BLG, and suddenly the game looks a whole lot different. But off that, JDG instead just limp away from the Baron fight. They say, okay, we didn't get the crushing victory we wanted, but we were able to get a few kills. We're able to keep our vision control around the Baron pit, and we get to try again.
BLG are fighting much better than their game state would indicate. Remember, they started the game 4-0, and in both team fights that they fought for JD Gaming, they traded kills back and forth. They were able to keep even and keep JD Gaming from taking the Baron. So I'm actually really impressed by BLG's team fighting ability right now.
LvMao got picked off, and now the teleport can't be canceled. Zoom, good stone plate timing, going to keep him alive, but now suddenly they're minus a member, but they don't seem to care. Flawless goes in, pops his own stone plate, the redemption coming out to get a lot of healing down, but JDG, I don't think they want this fight.
Yeah, this is the type of fight where, you know, all of the team members are looking at each other and they're just going, are we still going in? That was a situation where we've seen JD Gaming throw countless games, to be honest, where they just don't know when to call it off or start stepping on the brakes. They just go in all the time, and that nearly costed them.
Starting to get a little bit worried here for JDG in the team fights, because if you were looking at that last little skirmish, Jinjiao starting to put out a ton of damage with that ricochet.
Yeah, he's got most of his crit items all online right now. Flawless is in a great position, though.
Flawless gonna look for the Cataclysm, gets it onto 2. Kuro makes it out, but ADD not gonna be as lucky. Tahm Kench coming in for the flank. Kuro
is that too deep?
Stuck in the back. Oh, ultimate gets him out, and the chain will not land, but Imp wants to go in further.
The slow does go down.
Trying to get the damage. Metoer incredibly low. Kine saves him once again. Heroes Enders coming in. Yagao with the assassinate on the side, and they're chasing down onto BLG. They should be able to get Kine. The 2 for 0 in the fight.
That was such a cool play from Flawless. He knew that Kuro was going to go in onto him, and he drags Kuro all the way into the back of the team. So most of Akali's damage was gone from the starting moments of that fight. And the JD Gaming were able to re-engage on it, chase down members. ADD, I don't think he had the flash that time, or he just didn't anticipate the step over the wall from Yagao. But it does look like JD Gaming, finally, after 4 consecutive team fights, are going to take down the Baron.
Now they're a threat to reckon with, but this team fight was so good by JDG.
Yeah, it was a really fun team fight to watch. Let's just see how Flawless is able to drag Kuro, the main damage dealer, into his own team, and Kuro's like, get me out of here. I do not want to stay here. Imp knows that the follow-up is on. He goes in. We can see Zoom landing the slow right there, forcing the team to go back. And then Yagao comes in, and he says, I'm going to teach you guys a lesson. It's time to open your, what was that book called again? Oh, he doesn't actually have it. He has the Merlin Nomicon. I thought he already went for the Soul Stealer already.
Not yet. I'm looking for it. I mean, he's got the full stacks. He's got a Banshees. He's got a Ludens. He's got a Nomicon.
Oh, yeah. He's going to go for it. He's going to go for it.
This is a ton of items completed here by JDG. I mean, their item timings have been absolutely great so far. Especially now, you look at it, no one's really sitting on components.
It's easier when you're fed.
I mean,
just a
yeah,
secret.
I guess, but at the same time, you know, Zoom's already got 4 somehow. Flawless, of course, incredibly beefy. We saw in that last team fight was able to stall for so long, and BLG are going to be at a huge struggle to come back from this.
The BLG, every single team fight they've taken so far, I've expected worse. So they've impressed me so far just with their coordination. This is how they've won their games. If you look down their roster, they don't necessarily have the flashiest of players, but they're so good with team coordination. They're so good in team fighting, really keeping part of that BLG identity alive through 2018 to now, honestly. And I just want to see a couple more of those big 5v5s from them. I feel like BLG is still going to win one of those.
Because I feel like the one thing working in their favor, like Jinjiao already has 4 items. Imp only has 3, and yes, they're very impactful, but the ricochets from Jinjiao do so much damage, especially at 4 items, they can still threaten, like you're saying. And they just need that one good team fight, that one good engage, but they're being pressured so hard by this Baron.
And I hate to say it, but I think they need to wait for Jinjiao's flash to at least come up, because it's too easy for JD Gaming to shut the Sivir down.
Oh, but now they're going to Yagao. Fancy feed from him, but he has to walk all the way into BLG. They should be able to pick him up, and now JDG lose a lot of momentum.
And they're able to defend their bot lane as well. Good use by Jinjiao, closing out on the LeBlanc very well, popping the on the hunt and making sure that she was cornered right there.
They're going to be able to pick up this dragon, most likely. Ton of damage from him. Double Cloud going to even up the dragon take, and now Flawless leading them on a merry chase here. Flash Q might be able to secure this kill for Kine. He just needs a little bit more. There's the stun. There's the Devour. Flawless. Not long for this. Oh! Flag and drag out of the pit, but
still gets tagged.
There's only so long you can stall, man. One more auto and a Q. Oh, there's the Q, but Devour will come
Redemption,
in. Redemption,
flag
and drag. Redemption won't land on him. He's still running away. The stacks fall off. Oh my God, Kine comes in for the ultimate. But he made them waste a lot of time and a lot of abilities.
Honestly, I felt like he should have just straight up died earlier, because right now BLG have a perfect timing window to go straight for the Baron.
Not only the Baron, but they have that huge wave in mid that they're now pushing in, and Flawless not up for another 30 seconds.
2 simple picks from BLG, just JD Gaming members not being in the correct position. I feel like those plays, they're excusable if you can take an inhibitor tower on the other side of the map, but neither times did they manage to get anything really. I think the Cloud Drake really wasn't worth that. So BLG, they're actually closing the gold gap. They were down by 7K previously, but after those 2 kills, you know, they're keeping it tight and even, and they're giving themselves that one last chance for those IE procs to really ring off of the armor of JD Gaming. And look at Jinjiao right now. He's got his armor piercing capabilities online already. A much better item with the extra AD on 9.2 as well from the Lord Dominic's regard.
Now he's going to pick up that Hexdrinker as well, keep him a little bit safer against Yagao. And suddenly, BLG, they didn't exactly get the team fight win we were looking for, but they did get a win off that last play, chasing down Flawless, able to get some pressure in the mid lane, and most importantly, relieve themselves from JDG's push. But now, JDG want to take it back in their favor, clearing out vision towards the red side.
And we were talking about how would BLG survive the phase where Jinjiao did not have the flash. Remember, the cannonball against Sivir is just so deadly. If you don't have the flash, you're instantly dead. The Yagao is going to come in, he's going to snipe you off. But they managed to get through that phase with 2 picks around their base. They have virtually no map control. Very impressive work from BLG. And from Jinjiao particularly to use his speed and find those picks right there.
Jinjiao, of course, able to very quickly clear the waves now. Looking really dangerous from JDG. But for now, they're still going to look for pressure around Baron. They've got a ton of vision around there, and it's up in 37 seconds.
Oh, sorry. I misread the Baron buff timer for the Baron timer itself. I realized that mistake, so that's why Flawless was escaping for his life, running as far as possible. He was in no threat of BLG taking on the Baron on off the kill. So my mistake right there. The Baron is up now, though. Is going to be up now.
Now, if he runs away, it'd be a bad idea to keep running and die.
Keep running and not die, actually, but
yeah.
Okay.
Fair. It's fair. Now, going to have to get some side wave control once again here for JDG if they want to contest the Baron. They have a lot of damage to start it up, but Jinjiao has finished his item build, already popping off with the 6. And no one else in the game has quite been able to establish that much except Zoom.
There's no Zhonya's on LeBlanc either, so a very plausible scenario is Jinjiao could spell shield and just kill the LeBlanc while she's mid-flight. If she gets a couple lucky crits, that could happen.
Oh, there goes the engage from Flawless. He has to jump out. Hero's entrance still goes in. Might be able to pick off Metoer.
Don't find him.
Not going to be able to get him, and now Redemption should be able to save LvMao here. They will get the pick up onto the side, but Yagao not able to get a ton. Jinjiao able to put so much damage out from the ricochets. The Maw not going to be enough to save him, but now JDG only have 2 members left in the fight. It's just up to Zoom now, and Flawless cutting the wave to try and save the game for his team. And Zoom is stalling for so long. He flashes over the wall. He might be able to make it out of his ADD, the 1 versus 1, and Zoom finally falls. Oh, Shield might be able to get ADD.
He should go down. He should go down.
So close to getting ADD, but Flawless able to clear out the wave, keep his base a little bit safer.
And Jinjiao just survived so long in that fight. You could see most of the direction was targeted his way. Both the solo laners were going after his head. But with the exhaust, I think there was an exhaust somewhere coming down. But let's watch that fight again. Flawless isn't able to actually pin down Jinjiao. Takes a bunch of damage from him. And I feel like this start of the fight is not necessarily what JD Gaming were looking for. They already expended 3 ultimates, didn't get a single kill right there. And then Yagao kind of has to overextend just to make sure that Jinjiao does fall. You can see Kine doing a great job just blocking Yagao on the side, making sure that Kuro, when he comes back into the fight, can pick it off. And BLG, with their team fight prowess, they finally make it happen.
And now this is so dangerous for JDG, because before it was just sort of like, yeah, if BLG get that fight, they're back in it. But now, JDG starting to lose momentum.
Here we go again.
Cataclysm, Flag and Drag engage once again from Flawless, but they aren't able to get a lot of follow-up off it.
I think you really need to pick your targets right here. So what Flawless is looking for is he needs to get Kine and Sivir at the same time, but also Kine does have the flash himself, so he can bring Sivir out of danger. He can help Jinjiao survive that. So right now I feel like Flawless is kind of at a loss for targets. He's not really sure who he wants to go on. He's just fishing for pickoffs right now. And if he can get a flash, honestly, it's totally worth it trading a Cataclysm for it.
With the later stages of the game, everyone's careful to look for these engages, so maybe the cooldown being gone isn't a problem. But if there is a fight that is engaged while the cooldown is down, that's a big problem for JDG's team fighting. And it looks like they're going to be the ones who might engage it. ADD getting chunked out immediately by Yagao.
They do have to be very careful of Zoom. He does have that frozen mallet. So they don't want to be too close to the Urgot. Good retreat from BLG right there. And ADD, I'm quite surprised he actually held on to his World Ender.
We've seen this potential trade a few times, and Yagao trying to keep the pressure, not revealing that Imp is down there soloing the Elder Drake, but I think BLG are about to catch on.
I'm not sure this is a fight that BLG can actually win walking into JD Gaming. Really good use of the terrain. Great macro play from JD Gaming. As long as Yagao's alive here, they should just walk away scot-free.
Goes pop by Zoom, as is the Righteous Glory. He really wants to engage, speed up, looking for Metoer. will pop his ultimate, Ragnarok, keeping him safe from the CC, but there's only so much his team can do to save him, and Metoer falls down to the Fear Beyond Death, and now Baron for JDG is on the table.
Yeah, just a little bit too slow on the Ragnarok. I felt that he could have escaped if he did get the Ragnarok off a little bit faster. It was slowed down by Zoom, however, and that's just going to be double objectives over to JD Gaming.
Now JDG walking into the base with Baron and the Elder Drake. As you said, teleport from Zoom still available. He's going to go back by whatever he feels like, get a little bit of healing back, and continue the push for JDG. They're looking for the win now. One last team fight remaining in the game.
Cannonball combo still up for JD Gaming as well. Jinjiao with no flash is still not safe in these team fights. He's going to have to position very carefully, probably hide himself among the towers to avoid the follow-up damage from Yagao. It's a very difficult team fight to maneuver. I want to see how he is able to scoot around the corners of the fight, keep himself safe.
2 inhibitors down so far in top and mid. They're just allowing the waves to push in, getting the Baron buff. And BLG need to make a play before the super minions get in here. Those Nexus towers are getting so low. Half health on both of them.
Great spell shield incoming from Jinjiao. Keeps himself alive. Dodges out on Yagao's combo right there. He's able to come back.
Elder's still up. Baron's still ticking. Both buffs still available here. And JDG might be able to take down a Nexus tower with this push. Run out of minions for now. A lot of wave clear coming in from Jinjiao. The only saving grace for BLG, and it looks like JDG just getting forced off.
Oh, this is like watching Lord of the Rings, you know, the Twin Towers, Helm's Deep, BLG holding on to until dawn arrives where they can have the cavalry come in. It's a very close game for them. I'm actually very surprised about all the team fights going on. Great job by them, but I have to say JD Gaming one-upped them with that macro play. Their composition is basically impossible for BLG to walk into. You're talking about an Urgot, a Cataclysm that can just lock you in place, make sure Jinjiao has to use a flash to get out. So it really isn't a combination where BLG could contest that Elder Drake, and it was a great fundamentals by JD Gaming. They push the waves up, and then they retreat towards the Elder Drake to force BLG to walk into them.
Baron available, still buffed up is JDG, and now the last tower remaining, the last bulwark of safety here for BLG. They have Jinjiao's wave clear to help them out, but it can only last for so long.
Really ballsy play by ADD.
And Yagao looking for the flank here, puts a ton of damage onto Kuro, forcing him back. Should guarantee the tower here if Yagao's careful enough. Flawless looking for the flank as well. They're keeping a lot of pressure. Tower's still up.
Look at how hard Jinjiao is fighting right there. He calls the bluff on LvMao, forces him back with the damage. But Yagao on the side, he's just putting way too much pressure. He's 1v3 in the back.
There's the Cataclysm onto both the support and AD carry. The Flash Devourer gets him out, but the tower goes down. Metoer now going to be the first target. He makes it out with the help of Ragnarok, but Kine stuck in the middle of JDG. A free pick off. Fear Beyond Death. The flash into the back line. Gets the Fear onto 3, and that secures the team fight for JDG, and this should be the win. 1-0.
Kuro still going in
the series, but they're still
popped.
getting the picks. Kuro gets popped at the end of the game, and JDG take a victory in game 1.
I love how that last shot was JD Gaming's members having their hands away from the keyboard. Like, this is a done deal for them. Very clean game overall. A great fight back from BLG, but still not able to get themselves back in the fight. I really like what Yagao did right there in the back end. He kept 3 members away, and once JD Gaming were like, wait a minute, why are you 3 people away from the bot side inhibitor tower? They just went straight in onto Jinjiao.
I feel like the biggest problem here, if you're JD and you want to look at that win critically, they sort of mispositioned a lot during the mid to late. They got a little bit overconfident when they were pushing into the base, and suddenly Yagao gets picked off, and you lose a ton of pressure. In the bot lane earlier, that 3v2, where they lost a lot of tempo, and you can even see their second throw there later into the game cut a huge chunk of their gold away.
Hey, that's why JD Gaming's my favorite team to watch. They're always entertaining. There's never a clean closeout straight game. There's always some fight back. But I feel like these comebacks were warranted from BLG. BLG played super well to get themselves back into this situation. And honestly, the big mistake that they made was that first dragon fight. I feel like that was kind of the nail in the coffin pretty early on. It was a 4-0 complete wipe, and if you think about the laning situation after that, the solo lanes were so far ahead that they were able to essentially take the towers for free on the top side of the map. So before this match we were talking about, this game is most likely going to be decided by what happens in the solo lanes, and that unfortunately was the case, and it did go for JD Gaming.
Yeah, when you lose the tempo on the top side of the map, there's not a whole lot you can do if your strategy revolves around keeping the lead. It revolves around having those strong laners. So they weren't able to do a whole lot. And Metoer as well. I'm a little bit lukewarm on his performance because I feel I was impressed by his early pathing. He was able to deal with Flawless's annoyances fairly well, but past that point it felt like he didn't really have a lot of direction and wasn't able to get the influence across the map that he wanted.
So the reason that they picked the Olaf was so that against Flawless in a 1v1 scenario, he was always going to win out no matter what. And he wanted to establish vision in the top side of the jungle. We saw him do that multiple times. But the reason that didn't work out, or it wasn't as valuable as in his previous sets, was that his solo lanes were just way too far behind. You're talking about being down 3 turret platings in the mid lane. The top lane was probably the worst game that we've seen from ADD so far. Solo kills and stuff like that happening. So I don't think I actually like the strategy of Metoer on the Olaf. I just think that his solo lane didn't hold their end of the deal so far, and it was kind of because of the picks, but it was also because of how good the Dumpling brothers were.
Yeah, we're going to hope to see if BLG solo laners can bring it back in the next game and re-bolster their confidence in game number 2 of JDG versus BLG.